Log recording. It's 9:30 in the morning, Pacific Standard Time. It is the 18th of September 2023. The diary of the griever named John Weaver, which would be me. I am having a field day on this one here. I thought I was already having a field day enough a few years back doing Huckleberry Finn, but this one's taking the cake. This one's concerning about. Well, let me show you the book. Class assignment. The guy named of Westmore interviewing another guy named Westmore. It's the back cover. The gentleman who we're talking about, and there's a YouTube on this gentleman. In my class of critical thinking and literature, we're tearing this one apart, and I don't think she's got a grasp, the professor, on how this affects a lot of people, including me. I'm having issues with the damn thing. I know my language is going to get a little brusque at this point, but I read chapter one where one of them was actually dealing with the loss of a father, even though the father may have been a bit of a pain in the butt, brusque. This guy was kicking my butt on this one. And I don't know how to get this going. I really don't. This one was just having an issue with me on this. I'm getting some screen prints off what our daily material was, and she just posted the information out there. Well, I'm glad she's posted the information out there, but I'm not quite sure how the hell I'm going to be able to do this stuff. I wanted to write about this. I wanted to write about this because loss of a loved one is one that kicks me in the ass all the time. And in dealing with this, it's nerve wracking. My old channel is dealing with grieving, mourning, and dealing with death on a constant basis. Being reminded of how death is apparent to a lot of people, or maybe not so much. Growing up, as I was trying to explain it to a lot of people, death is something that people have an issue with because they don't know how to deal with it. And they never have. And sorry, what I'm doing right now is trying to maneuver a pillow so I can get it from the floor and put it for my back. My channel has been dealt with memories, opinions, stories concerning about how a person deals with loss of a loved one, how it changes a person's perspective and anything and everything around him, including when running into material, even for classes, for educational purposes. These things are still triggers for me, and they're kicking my ass on this one. They are literally kicking my ass on this one. I'm trying. I'm trying to deal with this. I'm trying to cope. I had written a short essay. No, just a short response. That's about it. I could be writing about an essay, but the thing is, my particular essay is dealing with what I'm dealing with right now. Going through the mess. Talking about the mess, because this is my channel to deal with it. And if my instructor watches it, good. Maybe she can learn something about it. I didn't know that this particular Westmore, who was doing the narration, had gone through a transformative thing in his life. Death gives people different perspectives and different meanings. Either you're terrified of it, which I am, or else it gives you a weird sense of comfort or a weird sense of identity. Either you're feeling ethereal, spiritual, or else you're feeling totally out of it, one way or another. And you have to deal with life on life's terms. Now, my mother, God rest her soul, had to deal with loss of her own mother in my own lifetime. Our grandmother. In my previous videos under the Wind Files I have talked about dealing with a grandmother that we had taken care of for 3 to 4 years, being bedridden at the last stages of her life, suffering through a stroke. And how my mother had gone through a lot of pain, discomfort, and anything else under the sun, taking care of her. Prior to that, there's a rich family history. Long family history. I've been talking about it for too long in the videos. How Ma struggled. Single woman carrying 2 kids. Caring for 2 kids, her own. 8 years apart. One has to be the medical case and the other one has to be the nut borer. She would answer questions to people when they're asking, "Oh, Marianne, how is your kids doing?" "Which one? The one with the bad ticker or the nut job?" They're like, she'd she'd tell that to a lot of people in her life. She got a chuckle at it every single time. And we would be there listening to the damn thing. I'm like, oh great, here she goes again. And Dave's like, oh, hang on there, John. It was just the little things like that. I was fortunate that I had a big brother to depend upon mostly. The one thing I hadn't said in class regarding this one, and I've talked about it too many times, my brother was a recovering alcoholic and drug user. 32 years clean sober before he passed away. I had seen him going through just before he hit sobriety and recovery, going through the lowest level of his own hell, almost taking Ma and me with him. Kicked his ass out of the home. He'd been out of the Navy for about a couple of years, and he had a hard time trying to keep jobs because he kept drinking and he kept using, and he kept robbing my mother blind until she had enough. She had to be working like crazy, and prior to that, oh God, it's where in part of my life do I actually tell the story in completehood. I mean, there are, I would have to do a lot of it. Suffice it to say, my brother went through his own epiphany. He almost got himself killed. 3 days in a nut hut, come back home. Ma gave him a phone number to a sponsor, guy who would help him out, start his path in recovery. And he would help me out in return. And I'll tell you something. I did not leave my mother's side. My brother didn't leave home either. He had enough of the Navy. Long stories, long stories. Suffice it to say, we'd seen our own fair share. So the drug problem I can relate with. The alcohol I could relate with. My brother could relate with it too. My brother started out as my mother's bartender. The drinks had to be made perfectly. And he was a young kid. He was only about, what, 7, 8. Started out as a bartender at home. He had to know what the drinks tasted like. So there are elements to the people in the book I'll probably relate more and more with. The other thing, probably not, is how to screw up 2 years of community college right after high school and then work your butt out for 30 years or 30 plus years. And then it's just coming back to college right after mama's passing was one of the hardest damn things. Well, I said one of the hardest. Because I was still dealing with the grieving in the morning, and my brother could not deal with the grieving in the morning. He didn't go to drugs or alcohol, he just went to a lot of recovery meetings just to hide. He talked to people, but he couldn't deal with the pain. He couldn't even deal with me about it. I tried to talk about this one a long while ago, too, recently, just to tell people what the hell was going on. And it hurt like hell because we still had a problem trying to communicate with each other. Dave was not the one to reveal his feelings to just anybody, and not even to his own brother. Ma wasn't exactly that kind of way, too. She had her own friends to deal with, but she couldn't talk with the family about what was going on. And when it comes down for dealing with death, I mean, Ma saw Grandma die right in front of her. Just changed her a great deal more. And it hurt like hell. Dave and I, decades later, saw Ma die. It would be redundant to say something else about that. It's been 11 years since Ma died. It's been 5 years since Dave died. I keep going to college because I'm trying to fulfill a promise, an oath that I made with them. Ma, you know, she was already dead, but I still did it anyway. And David, we had an argument about this one. Now, before he actually had trans-ischemic attacks happening in him, we had actually an argument about this one. I kept telling him, if you got worse and worse, I was going to take care of you, and screw college. He says, that's not doing Ma very good. I said, I don't care. Your priority. I'm dealing with it. You don't like it? I don't care. You're my priority at this point. I already been taking care of him for a long while anyway. Even after Ma died. And right after he died, I had to take time off. But I went back. And then COVID kicked in. And life was hell after that. I did what I could for my family. I did everything else I could for them. I'm not thumping chests. I'm not beating drums. I'm not yelling my head off on this one. I did everything I could to take care of them. Family could do a lot for. Some family members, not so much. The family members, yeah. Anyway, I thought I'd get that off my chest. I'm sending this one over to the professor as well.